Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wingcat Sports, and it's our NFC North breakdown for the week. Overall, good week for the division, bad week for the Bears. We'll start with the not so exciting game inside of the division. Whatever I knew would happen. We'll start with the Lions. Just go over that tiny bit real quick. Obviously, we have our post game to fully look at for that. But overall, good game by the Lions. Still looks like to be the number one team in the NFC with no real competition, right? Obviously, there's a little bit of teams here and there, Packers, Eagles, who kind of have a chance at them, but so far they look to be the strongest team in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we still have our issues on defense, but I mean, you can't tell in these games. I mean, it's 6 points, which you can't complain about. But I still think, like I said, we play the better teams. It'll show up, but it's nice. We got a stretch here where we can kind of
Relax.
relax a little bit. I hate to say that, but because you shouldn't be able to say that against anybody, but this offense just seems to be unstoppable at the moment. We're going into Indy
So,
next week. It shouldn't be as easy a game as it was this week, but I don't expect it to, be that difficult. I think the Lions should handle Indy pretty easily. Um, and there's not much to say about
no,
this game.
there's there's not a lot. The Lions' point differential, I believe, is like unheard of
And I
right
don't
now.
think they're running up the score. I think they're just playing.
They are just
And,
playing.
and they've taken, Hooker's, that's one of the things I kind of have a complaint about is because when Hendon Hooker gets in there, let him throw the ball, let him launch it.
Let's see. Let's
Let's see
see.
what he's got. I don't think they should take their foot off the pedal when Hendon Hooker's in there.
I mean, right now, Lions are fifth in yards per game in total. Well, third in yards per game total. Right now, I believe I'm just trying to figure out like point differentials, as I do not fully see here, just to get an idea of the exact number. But it is somewhere along those lines of being like in the 150s in total, like point differential, which is about 50 points higher than the Buffalo Bills this year.
that's crazy.
There's a 50-point
They look
difference.
like Baltimore was
But
leading everything. So
but right now, Lions offense is a top 5 offense. They're sixth in passing yards average, third in rushing yards, first in points per game with 33.6, and points against 17.7. You're averaging basically 15 points difference between your team, 15 to 16 points
right.
between teams overall, and it's not
I can't
something.
believe we're third in rushing. I thought we would be first, but
And even defensively, looking at it, you are sitting surprisingly. Where are you at? You're like more mid in yards per game defensively. You're averaging 327 yards a game defensively. Again, total wise, but again, points per game defensively, you're only letting up 17.7 yards. So you're stopping people from overall getting anywhere. Special teams wise, you're sitting at the top of the league in average for kickoffs.
that kind of probably a tight game, or what was it? The game that we were like, that was insane. That kind of probably put us at one game.
Overall, you're top in everything around the league.
That was insane. Didn't we get like 300 yards in special teams
Yes,
yardage that game? It was like
but
nuts.
overall, I mean, it's different than what we're used to.
We've this. I think we all can finally say that at least in my lifetime, which is goes back to the mid '60s, this is the best football team I have ever seen coming from the Detroit Lions. Um, they are balanced. They do have some issues on the defensive line still. I'm glad to see that Zadarius Smith got a sack, but it wasn't until the end of the game, and
Yeah,
it wasn't anything. Yeah, he did.
more than anything
I
big.
don't know exactly. Like I said, I think the improvement in the defense has been in the defensive backfield is very good. Um, I think the linebacking got better, but we lost Anzalone.
They lose Anzalone for
Uh,
6 to 8 weeks, so we'll
so
see how that
that's
affects
gonna
the
hurt.
defense. We'll see how it
But I think
affects.
Derek Barnes might be coming back.
No, he's still out for a while.
He's still out for a while.
Yeah, but overall, it is what it is. Moving on though, because we already talked about the line. We talk about the Lions
Right.
all the time. Going to the Vikings, they ended up being the Titans, which they should have done. Sam Darnold having an okay day, 246 for the yards, 20 for 32, two TDs, zero interceptions. They ran for another 82. Had no problems with the Titans defense. So overall, another good game for the Vikings. They're keeping on their track to staying where they need to be in the division and making it not as easy on the Lions. They are sitting about mid in the NFL. Uh, Offensively, though, 13th in passing yards, 19th in rushing yards, and 10th in points for. So they are more in the mid offensively so far this year. But their defense is ranked fourth with points against at 17. So roughly around where the Lions are at
Right.
for points against.
Right.
But then again, the Vikings, they are playing well. They have a favorable schedule ahead of them. I think they will make the run for the money, especially in the division, because basically they're not going to allow the Lions to misstep anywhere
Right.
with how they're playing.
As we said, well, right. The Lions should be 11-1 after Thanksgiving. And then they got that tough 4-game stretch.
It's likely the division very well could come down to that last game of the year, but we'll see what ends up happening. Moving on to the last game, a heartbreaker for the Chicago Bears. They thought they had the win. Caleb Williams was able to get them down the field near the end of the game, get them in field goal range, but the Packers able to block the field goal at the end of the game, winning the game 20-19.
That would have helped the Lions.
That would have helped the Lions. Packers would have went 6-4. Bears would have been 5-5 if they would have won. Been 500. They couldn't pull it out, but I think that should give Chicago Bears fans hope. At least that there is something that you were able to keep up with the Packers.
The Bears, yeah, but the Bear fans won't.
But the Bears will not look at it. The Bears won't look at it because again, we're going to go with Packers offensive stats. They are a top 10 team offensively, 238 yards per game, which ranks eighth, 149 rushing yards a game, which ranks fourth. They're tied eighth for points for 25, points against 21. They are a top 10 team right now offensively, and you were able to keep them to 20 points. So your defense is playing really well, and Bears should at least have a little bit of hope.
Right.
After the
well,
game.
I mean, they're not going to do anything this year, but
not this
they
year.
Shouldn't. I mean, like I said, I think it was silly for those fans who think that they were just going to walk on there with Caleb Williams and go to the playoffs. I mean,
you're offensively, the Bears are one of the worst teams so far this year. 30th in passing yards, 22nd in rushing yards, 23rd with points for. You're not even averaging 20 points a game.
Right.
And your points against is roughly right next to your points for, 18.7, a top 10 defense, but you're 19.4 for your offense. So there's not a lot of wiggle room right now between the offense and the defense.
No.
And again, it's mostly the offensive line. If they gave Caleb Williams a little bit more time, I'm sure the team would be good.
Give him a couple of years to get to the point where he's a real NFL quarterback. He is showing signs. But not everybody gets. Next year, who knows? Maybe Jaden Daniels sucks, and it was sophomore slump type thing. It's there's no guarantees or anything like that. But these, give the guy some time. Let's see where he's at. I think everyone's expecting that the Bears are going to be a team to reckon with in the next few years.
I mean, looking up to about mid-December, we'll look at the next 4 games for each team. Lions, you're going to have, this is where you hit your little iffy part of the year where you're going to have to play well. You got 2 more games where you kind of can be like, well, really 1 more, but 2 more that you're fairly confident in against the Colts, right? You're 7.5 favorites. And then you're going to go play the Bears on Thanksgiving, which, again, you should have confidence in. Yes, they have a great defense, but your defense is decent enough to keep a Bears offense from even getting near the end zone. So you should have confidence going into that game. You should win your next 2. You should be 11-1 going into the Packers game. And, again, you're at home. You get a week break, so it's not like it's a short week for you. You get a nice week break going into the Packers game.
Right.
which again, you should have confidence in yourself at least a little bit. It's not gonna be like the other game though, where it was outside. You're kind of gonna have a little bit of banged up defense because Anzalone's not gonna be there. So we'll see how it plays. But if you beat the Packers, you should secure yourself the division as long as you win at least two more games, two, three more games out of that last few. And you're gonna play the Bills right after that. Could potentially be 12-1 playing the Bills, and then that's another potential big matchup for you at home. You're playing these really really good teams at home,
Right.
which is your benefit.
No, I mean, like I said, I think 11-1 after Thanksgiving, we should beat Indy, we should beat Chicago, and then you're setting yourself up for, God, one more win, and you're almost guaranteed. You are guaranteed a playoff spot. There ain't no
You should
way.
be guaranteed a playoff spot by Thanksgiving. If
You
you're
should
11-1, you should
you
be in the
should be.
playoffs.
Right, you should be. But just in case, like I said, out of the last four games, all you gotta do is win one. And you're at 12. That's a hell of a season. I don't care. 12-5 is a great season.
Your match last year, 12-5
that's
matches
just
last
the
year,
worst case. You could end up being
15-2,
15-2,
16-1. If we
16-1.
want to be very
Right.
optimistic,
I mean, if you want to be crazy. But I'm looking forward to that Bill game. Watching Josh Allen last night. Oh
took
man.
down Patrick
That
Mahomes.
is a hell of a quarterback. And there's no better quarterback with his feet than Josh Allen. So that's really going to be tough for the Lions. And if you face him in the Super Bowl, if you happen to get that far,
Yeah.
that's a very tough matchup for the Lions.
Looking ahead for Minnesota.
Even with an Aiden Hutchinson.
Yes. Looking ahead for Minnesota. Again, they're kind of doing the same thing. They need to keep up with the Lions. They're still only one game behind us. Right now, they're going to go play the Bears next week. Again, they're favored by 3.5. They're playing in Chicago, though. So, again, this is kind of Chicago's advantage. If they want to play spoiler in a lot, you are at home. We'll see how this goes against Chicago. Chicago, again, you want to keep on building yourself up. You should have at least a little momentum. Even though you lost that Packers game, you came the closest you have come to beating them in like 6 years.
Right.
You
should have won that game.
And you should have won that game. So you build off of that game. You're going to probably play a Vikings team, again, who's pretty good, but you have a good defense. Sam Darnold, who has slowly started to struggle a little bit, but defense is carrying them.
Right. Chicago, I'm not saying Chicago's an automatic win for us even, but because of that defense. Chicago has a good defense. Better than ours at the moment, I think. Or just as people want to, like I said, I'm not seeing how good our defense is. Our defensive backfield is very, very good.
Again, Chicago overall in Chicago's games, only 2 games the opposing offense has scored over. Well, actually, hold on. I was looking at wins. So looking at their games through their first, they have not had an offense score more than. I guess we keep on going. Really, the Cardinals scored the most points against them, and that was 29.
Right.
Besides that, no one has gotten more than 3 touchdowns against the Bears. Your offense is the thing that's struggling.
And considering that offense probably is to blame for a lot of the other points.
There might be some pick sixes in there and fumbles that were returned.
I have no doubt that they've given good field position and everything else, and turnovers and everything else. That defense is good for the Bears. So I'm not discounting them, but I just think as a total team, like I said, we should beat them on Thanksgiving. We're not very good on Thanksgiving.
You're not. We have a 37-44-2 record on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we are not good on Thanksgiving.
So, for the Packers, though, moving on. So, actually, we didn't fully look ahead for each team. We didn't fully look ahead for the Vikings. So, let's look at their next few games, see where the Vikings are going to sit at. They play the Bears in Chicago, but they're going to come home and play the Cardinals. That is not going to be an easy game. The Cardinals are currently winning the West, I believe, and are tied at the top of the West at 6-4. So they're playing well. They are winning the West at 6-4 right now. After that, they're going to go play Atlanta, who again is playing hot, but they're playing them at home. Kirk Cousins' return, not going to be easy on Minnesota. And then you're going to play the Bears on Monday night at home, mid-December. So looking over their next 4 games, they're probably looking at least, again, they got to keep up, but they could go 2-2. It's not going to be necessarily easy. That Cardinals and Falcons game are the ones that they're going to worry about the most, and may not be focusing completely on the Bears right now.
Right.
So the Bears need to take advantage of building off their little momentum that they got and keep on moving. When it comes down to the Packers, because we're going to kind of move down the division on who's likely going to place where. Packers wise, they're going to play the 49ers this week on Monday Night Football
And the
or
49ers
Sunday.
are playing better.
They're
actually
starting to
getting
play.
some
They're
momentum.
starting to play better. Then they're going to come home to play the Dolphins. They should beat the Dolphins. They're going to play the Lions in Detroit. We'll see how that game goes. And then they're going to go play the Seahawks on Sunday Night Football, which again, the Seahawks are fighting for their division. So the Packers, they're looking. This could be a bad stretch for them, these next 4
Well,
games.
it's going to be a tough stretch. So, I mean, what they do, it's up to them. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you do see a couple losses in there.
There's a chance for a couple depending on how these games go. Again, the Packers are a good team, top 10 team offensively.
Right.
They could win these next
Jordan
4
Love
and
hasn't
keep on
played
going.
his potential yet this year either. If he starts playing well and playing up to his ability, the Packers could go on a run.
And then we look at Chicago. Feel bad for Chicago. I feel real bad for Chicago because we've gone over the schedule before. There's not a lot of opportunity left in their schedule. They're going to play the Vikings in Chicago. There's your chance to kind of surprise them. You're going to go play the Lions on Thanksgiving.
Right.
There's not a lot of confidence in you there. You're going to go play the 49ers in San Francisco. Not a lot of confidence there.
We still have to play the Bears twice, don't we?
Yeah, we do. They're going to go to Minnesota mid-December, Monday Night Football. Not a lot of confidence in that game right there. You're going to go play the Lions at home mid-December, right before Christmas. You might get lucky. You might get lucky, depending on the weather.
Right.
You might get lucky with that game. Outside of that, though, you're going to stay at home against the Seahawks on a short week, Thursday Night Football in Chicago, the day after Christmas. It's going to be freezing cold for the Seahawks. Again, you might get lucky just because of the weather and people not being used to it, depending on how the weather is. Then you're going to go to Lambeau to end the year. Overall, the only wins I see for the Bears are going to come out of luck.
Yeah.
Based off weather. And that's about it. You might have a nice 2-game win streak against the Lions and Bears, or Lions and Seahawks, because they're both outside in Chicago. But Caleb Williams played in California for his college career. So how is he going to play in the cold weather?
Yeah. Well, like I said, he's getting used to it now, but it hasn't been that bad yet.
It hasn't been that bad yet. So,
again, has he played many bad weather games?
I don't believe so. So we will also see how you in Chicago drafted the QB from California. See how exactly that's going to go playing in a Chicago winter. But again, this is just not looking bright for the Bears. But there should be some hope in Bears fans that this team isn't a complete loss. You revamp that offensive line. If they're competent this offseason, you should be a much more competitive team next year.
Yeah.
But
we've learned that. I mean, we can run against anybody. We can pass against anybody because of that offensive line we got.
But I mean, it is what it is. Again, you can't be too upset if you're a Bears fan because I get you guys were hopeful, but you also knew what your problems were. That's the offensive line. With all that being said, though, if you like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, share the video around. Let us know what you think about inside the NFC North. It's a much longer video than we usually have for this, but we had a lot to talk about, I guess. But with all that being said, I hope to see everybody soon.